So when you say digital currencies, at many of these events I've been speaking at, many of my friends are, big on Bitcoin or Ethereum, saying this is our way forward. This is how we set ourselves free. This is how we break free of those power mongers running the world. And it sounds like you're saying, no, that's exactly how they finished the death blow.
This is not what the central bankers are planning.
3, 2, 1, and
crypto people aren't just in it to make a buck, they're in it to change the world forever. These are not shallow people. These are people who can answer every single question except who was Satoshi, which they don't answer. Someone should answer that. Nope. I think we know. Anyway, in fact, I have a friend who's probably sitting here who told me he did know, but I don't believe him. And I don't care if it was the CIA. It doesn't matter. The idea is still a great idea. Obviously, it was the CIA. I think we all know that. It's like Signal. They got there first. It's a honey trap.
You have this balance of power between the people and the bankers. And now what is happening under the guise of COVID-19 is the bankers have decided they no longer want to share power with the electorate or the people's representatives. And whether through FASB 56 or levering the governments up so they're deeply in debt and dependent on the central banks have decided essentially to take over. And the ultimate sort of completion of this will be when they introduce digital currencies controlled and operated by the central bank. Why is that important? Because they won't be currencies, Del. They will be a financial control system. To implement that system, they need the vaccine passports. And the goal of the vaccine passports have nothing to do with health. They have to do with implementing a new digital financial transaction system, which is in essence complete control. So I call it a slavery system. Dr. Naomi Wolf said, vaccine passports are the end of human liberty in the West, and she's absolutely right.
So when you say digital currencies, at many of these events I've been speaking at, many of my friends are, big on Bitcoin or Ethereum, saying this is our way forward. This is how we set ourselves free. This is how we break free of those power mongers running the world. And it sounds like you're saying, no, that's exactly how they finished the death blow.
This is not what the central bankers are planning. And I sent your staff a 56-second of the video of the Bank of International Settlements General Manager Carstens explaining exactly what it meant.
Okay, we've got it.
Can you play it?
Yeah, let's play it. Let's see what they said.
We tend to establish the equivalence with cash, and there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also, we will have the technology to enforce that. Those two issues are extremely important, and that makes a huge difference with respect to what cash is.
Okay, General. Wow. Before we tiptoe into crypto, I thought we should tap into your brain to get into the know.
That guy definitely needs to join the Make America Healthy Again train, for sure.
Okay. Well, I'm going to focus on this topic today. I'm going to give you all sorts of room to work through this. I'm going to ask that. I'll ask Sorchini.
It's absolute total tyrannical control. That's what these people want to have. So if they can't get it through the electorate, which in America, we just showed them that we don't want this total control. We don't want their dictatorship. We don't want their tyranny in this country. And so how they're going to do it is they're going to do it through other means. And the banking system, as we've been talking about for a long, long time, the central bank digital currency, and all, like everything, the Ethereum, the Bitcoin, all of these different, to me, that is all noise. At the end of the day, it is about how the central system, the central banking system, led by the International Monetary Fund, led by the World Bank, how they are going to ensure that you can't spend your money the way you would like to spend your money if you're a regular person, right? If you're one of the big wealthy elites, you'll have your abilities to be able to to do the things that you want to do. But that's a very small amount of people. Just for the regular person that's out there, they don't want they want to know exactly where you're spending your money, how you're spending your money, so they can control the expenditure. If you purchase too much gas on a monthly basis, you're not going to be able to fill your tank of gas up again in your truck. That's the direction that we're heading here, folks. That's the whole social experimental system that the Chinese have, and that's what they want to impose worldwide. We just pushed back on that, in our last election, but these people are not done, and they're going to continue to move in this direction. So I just want everybody to understand that despite the great victory by Donald J. Trump, that only gives us a little bit of breathing room, and every single American has the responsibility now to do their part.
General Flynn, follow-up question for you. I'm not trying to paint you into a corner, but I'm going to ask you this question, and then I'll ask James. I'll ask you the same question, so you can attempt to one-up America's general if you can. Why is it that people tend to attack the messenger? Maybe it's a philosophical question. Maybe it's an intel question. Because I know that you, sir, are one of the most attacked people online I've ever seen, and you typically are attacked for simply sharing the truth. So why is it that when someone like Catherine Austin Fitts goes on Del Bigtree and says, no, Bitcoin is not the exit ramp to create financial freedom. In fact, it is a rapid progression and acceleration into programmable money. Why is it that Catherine Austin Fitts and people like yourself typically get attacked when they share this kind of information?
The path ahead is always a difficult path because it's uncertain. And people that are trying to control the direction that you're going to take on that path, they want that. They like that uncertainty because it gives them a sense of control and it gives them a sense of power over us. And I think that that's what they don't want to lose. And so in order to kind of to stunt that journey, what they do is they attack the people that are out there like me and like Catherine and you and others who are out there saying, no, wait a second, this is not really what they want to do. And when you go, well, how do you know that? Well, all you can do is listen to them speak, listen to what they write about, listen to what, how they talk to each other when they're in their little formations and their groups. I mean, these people want total power over the world. That's what one world order means. And the one world order has been around since the turn of the last century for over 100 years now. This idea of a one world order, that's what they want to achieve. And when we see Joe Biden, who is part of this, give a Medal of Freedom to George Soros and Hillary Clinton, but George Soros, it's like it's just shoving it in our face that they want to control the journey that we are trying to have, which is called the American dream. That's all we want, but that's not what they want us to have. And that's why they attack the messenger. That's why they attack truth tellers.
James, you served in the military. What branch of the military did you serve in, sir?
Oh, the Air Force.
How many years were you in the Air Force?
4.
Is that because they wouldn't allow you in the Army, or what happened?
No, it was just what my uncle, who was a major in the Army, recommended I do. So I took his recommendation after he served 25 years, and it worked out real good for me. So
okay, and after honorably serving for the Army's backup plan, no, I'm just kidding. But you're a great guy. You were born closer to yesterday than I was. I want to ask this: have you ever posed the question? Have you ever talked to somebody and you said, hey, perhaps programmable money / Bitcoin isn't actually going to lead us to economic freedom, and it is in fact accelerating us into programmable money? Have you ever tried just having that conversation?
I have, and it's something that people don't want to hear because it's a scary thought. Exactly what General Flynn said. The one world government, the deep state criminal syndicate, they're on the internet and they're attacking everyone that's bringing the message of truth, because the truth empowers Americans, and they just want to destroy Americans right now. That's their whole goal, to destroy our country. And how you do that is you destroy everyone that's telling the truth about what's going on.
Sorcini, you're talking to people every day that are calling you and they're asking you questions, and nobody knows the questions they're asking more about their money than you, because you talk to people every day who are concerned about protecting their money. People, unfortunately, this is a hard fact. This will probably upset Andrew Sorcini, and I hate to say this, but people are not going to bh-pm.com just to, to look for some eye candy. They're not just going there to look at the glory and the beauty of Andrew Sorcini. They're not going there. I mean, they might be going to tombrady.com to look at Tom and read his accolades. There might be people now going to Bill Belichick's website to see what he's doing. There's people going to michaeljordan.com to look him up. But Sorcini, they're not going to your website to see how you're doing. They're going to protect their money. Are people asking you about programmable money, Bitcoin?
They are. It's people have been reaching out about Bitcoin more than ever, especially since the election. And it's been quite attractive with what we've seen happen with Bitcoin and some of the altcoins because of Trump's association with Elon Musk, who has a big following with cryptocurrency. But there really shouldn't be a comparison between cryptocurrency and gold and silver, because one of them you can hold in your hand. It's a real asset. And the other one, it trades on the blockchain, which is something that most people out there don't even understand. If you want to spend Bitcoin, it takes about 30 minutes for that transaction to go through. Can you imagine you want to go buy like a pack of gum at the market and they say, okay, hold on, I need to wait like 30 minutes for your payment to clear. No, it's not a replacement for the dollar, but the dollar has been a replacement for gold and silver for many years. But really, we're going to go back to our origins eventually, and gold and silver are the real currency.
Now, Tom Renz,
Hey,
there's an event, Tom, that they host every year called the World Government Summit. And I'm going to make you endure one clip from this, Tom Renz, and I'm going to you. You have to suffer through this. World Government Summit, by the way, folks, a little pro tip. The World Government Summit is about a world government.
What we're seeing in the world today, I think, is we are on the brink of a dramatic change where we are about to, and I'll say this boldly, we're about to abandon the traditional system of money and accounting and introduce a new one. And the new one, the new accounting, is what we call blockchain. It means digital. It means having a almost perfect record of every single transaction that happens in the economy, which will give us far greater clarity over what's going on. It also raises huge dangers.
Oh, sure, huge dangers. Tom Renz, what's for you, sir?
Wow.
So Clay, they've admitted this, right? So the first clip that you played with Grimace, the last 5 seconds where Grimace was talking, can you play that last 5 seconds? Because I want to show where those two clips overlap big.
You're going to see Augustine Carstens?
Yeah, the Grimace's twin.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull it up. And just to be clear, a lot of people ask me, they'll say, Clay, is that Bill Barr? I say, no, it's not Bill Barr. People ask me, Clay, is that Chris Farley? I say, no, that is not Chris Farley. This is Augustine Carstens. We should treat him with all due respect. Here we go. Let's hit play.
Grimace.
We tend to establish the equivalence with cash, and there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also,
right there, that was it.
Technology to enforce that.
And we'll have the technology to enforce it. Tom Renz, back to you, sir.
Clay, the central bank liability is what he said, right? So if I were cross-examining this guy and I had him on the stand, I'd say, well, sir, you're talking about people's money. You just said it's the central bank's liability. Is it the people's money or is it your liability? See, what this is this is a predicate to communism, where the state owns everything. He just admitted that. What they're planning to do is to make sure that everything, and they're looking at this, everything is owned by the state. Everything is just a marker and a ledger, right? Your house, they've talked about the unified ledger. I've reported on that. I've written about it. your house, your property, everything. It's just a mark on a ledger. And what he's doing is he's viewing this is all the central bank's liability, all this digital currency, all this stuff. Everything out there belongs to the one world government. You just get whatever piece they give you. That's where they're going with this. That's what he's saying. When he talks about this as a central bank liability, he was talking about the money in your pocket as a central bank liability, which means owned by, controlled by, managed by the central bank. So the central bank will own the world. That's what they're doing with this. And understand that blockchain, for anybody that doesn't know, well, blockchain, it's private, it's this, it's that. Okay, do you think that the government's going to allow unregulated transfer of that? They're telling you that they're going to monitor every transaction that occurs. There is no privacy because the mechanism by which they're going to allow the transfer of wealth will be controlled and managed by the computers. Every single thing that will occur, they just literally admitted that they're moving to global communism.
Just because you're a credible attorney, you have a beautiful beard, you're a handsome man, you're physically fit, your wife loves you, and people like you, doesn't mean you can get on a show like ours and start talking about facts, because we're going to have to label you as a conspiracy theorist if you keep that up. Let me hit play.
My wife said I smell bad today.
Let me hit play. Here we go.
The Russians backed up what Warren's been saying. A lot of people going, oh, this currency is not going to be anything. They said it's going to be gold backed. Hello, it's going to be gold backed.
The BRICS group is set to introduce a new currency backed by gold, in contrast to the credit-backed US dollar, with countries lining up to join the growing initiative.
The BRICS countries are planning to introduce a new trading currency which will be backed by gold. More and more countries recently expressed desire to join BRICS.
The nature of money is going to change quite dramatically. The old systems of trust and of ownership will have to adapt radically.
Okay, so General Flynn, I just, you all know Harari is excited about the changing nature of money. Now, I just want to be very clear. China, Russia, this is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, the BRICS countries, they are introducing, let me break it down, a gold-backed programmable currency. Well, why would a country like China that already has this form of surveillance capitalism, a country famous for using a social credit score, a country that does forced organ harvesting, a country that has re-education camps, why would China be wanting to lead the way to introduce a gold-backed programmable central bank digital currency? I'm sure it's for the betterment of humanity. General Flynn, what say you, sir?
Oh, obviously. Oh, yeah, of course. And one of the things we got to examine is the amount of gold that China has been hoarding. And not only China, but those that are in alliance with China, like Iran, Russia, North Korea, Venezuela. Venezuelans have been hoarding gold as well. Cuba is another one. And these are close to our shores, what the Chinese are doing. So for China, it's part of their 100-year plan, which began in 1949. Xi decided to become the leader for life because his desire is to implement the 100-year plan and to move it up much faster. And that is why by 2030, and I would say in the coming months here, this is where Trump really does play in. China's goal is to be the global superpower and having all of us move together in sort of on one path. So that's why China is all for this. They have been preparing the way, so to speak, to a world of darkness because they have no faith-based system at all. So we're not out of the woods. I mean, Trump won, and I want everybody to understand that it's a very good thing. It's a very positive thing. He provides enough light on the world to be able to shine, so we can kind of see our way out of this valley of the shadow of death here that we were in. But boy, I'll tell you, it's going to be a slug match. It's going to be a slugfest. And again, we can't rely on just one guy to do it all for us, folks. It's got to be, all of us pulling together and understanding exactly what we're saying here about China. China is the real threat, not Russia, not Iran. They are part of the alliance, but China is the real threat. And China, of course, is going to work closely with the World Economic Forum and all their minions in the world, in these world institutions. They're going to control the majority of the United Nations, which is if you could sprinkle fairy dust on me, I'd, poof, I'd disappear today. But so we have a lot to look forward to, but we also have a lot at stake, and we've got to continue this fight.
Andrew Sorchini, I want to go back to you here. This just announced 12 hours ago. Yahoo Finance reports China's central bank buys more gold as gold prices trade near record. This just continues to happen. China claims to have found the world's largest gold deposit here on November 30th. Russia has announced and they now have a massive amount of gold. They're sort of saying they've hit historic reserves. What could China and Russia possibly be doing, Sorchini?
They know that the new currency is going to be gold backed. And if it's gold backed, and as this starts to be accepted through the BRICS nations and a whole lot of other countries, it's only going to make it more valuable. And they understand another thing is that they're not buying like warehouses filled with Ferraris and Lamborghinis. They're buying gold, which can be converted back into any currency that they want to convert it into if they find that they've bought too much of it. So it's a great place to park wealth. It's the best store of value that I know of, and it just blows away any kind of cryptocurrency out there that I know of.
James, you served honorably for the Army's B team, and so therefore you're an incredible young man. I want to ask you here, when you hear this conversation about these countries hoarding the Earth's gold, and maybe you speak the younger language that I don't speak, but Steve Bannon said, "Hello, it's going to be gold backed." Hello, why did he say that? Why did Steve Bannon say, "Hello, their new currency is going to be backed by gold"? Hello, why did he say that?
Well, in my opinion, the gold-backed currency, because it's backed by gold, that's what gives whatever they're going to give it power. So the gold gives the currency power, and that's why for the longest time, our currency was backed by gold, and you could go to the bank and convert gold for dollars.
General Flynn, I want to go back to you, sir. You were on you were an A player on America's A team, known as the Army. What is your thoughts on America's B team, America's backup plan, the Air Force? Why is it that people in the Army sometimes feel that the Air Force is in fact the backup plan or the B team, or maybe even the C team for the Army? Can you help us resolve that tension, sir?
Yeah, actually the Air Force was birthed by the Army. It's called the Army Air Corps. It came out of World War II. But James, thank you for serving in the great Air Force. It's funny. The Air Force always has the best golf courses because they what they do is they ask for a lot of money to build their planes, and they always get a little bit extra to put not one but two 18-hole golf courses on their bases, right, James? You know that you probably teed off at a few of them.
Well, you know what? I was in Minot, North Dakota, so it was a little bit too cold to play golf out there.
Well, yeah, but they probably have them underground there.
Oh, yeah. So they got a lot underground there.
Yeah. So, this is not over. And Andrew's right. I mean, what's happening is these countries are pushing all this. I wrote down a lot of these names, right? Bitcoin, altcoin, blockchain, Ethereum, digital currency, social credit score, all these different things that are so confusing to just regular old people. And what regular old people need to know is that the financial system is going to change. I mean, it's going to change. And you know what? It's going to be backed by gold, and it's going to be backed by silver. It's going to be backed by, these precious metals, principally by gold. It used to be in our country until the early 70s when they cut a deal during the Nixon administration and guys like Henry Kissinger, who's a globalist. So now we are here. So we've reached this point in time and history. And this is what we are moving towards. So whatever they call it, it's going to be backed by gold, and principally gold. And I think that's why we're seeing these countries like China and Russia hoarding so much of it. And you find them out there. They're digging all over the world to discover even more reserves in some of these mining operations that they're doing. And I have some friends that are in the mining businesses of gold exploration, and they're making big discoveries all over the place because they know what's coming. And what's coming is a gold-backed global currency. And the United States of America, I pray that Trump is able to kickstart our economy here very quickly and can get us moving, because one of the things that is gold in our country is something called energy. And the energy resources is a function of our economic health and economic strength. So that alone will help us recover from where we are and where we need to be.
Now, General Flynn, in the final 5 minutes we have here with you today, I just want to tee this up. On part 2 of today's show, I am going to do a deep dive. You're going to be hearing from people who are not me saying in their own words their actual agenda as it relates to programmable money. So you're going to hear people like Steve Bannon explaining to you how programmable money works. You're going to hear clips from Tucker Carlson explaining to you how programmable money works. You're going to hear people explaining. You're also going to hear Yuval Noah Harari explain how programmable money works. You're going to hear Pippa Malmgren explaining how programmable money works. So you're going to hear people that you'll trust far more than me on the final 15 minutes of today's show. But I do want to direct everybody to check out flynnmovie.com. That's the home of the Flynn documentary, flynnmovie.com. In my opinion, it's an eye-opening look at American politics and what is going on and how our government can be weaponized against the American people. That's flynnmovie.com. Also, Andrew Sorcini, bh-pm.com. We also have Tom Renz at tomrenz.com. So we'll go to Tom Renz first, then we'll go to Andrew Sorcini. 60 seconds there. Tom Renz, tell us what you're working on there at tomrenz.com, sir.
Right now, our major focus is kind of what we see going on in the Maha world. We're seeing attacks on health. I mean, we've got the bird flu, we've got the quademic, they're telling us. So we've got all sorts of vaccines coming, all going to be mRNA poison based. They're doing everything they can to bring these babies back and to scare us. They're actually requiring them in some hospitals and stuff now. And so we're gearing up, getting ready for the next wave of pandemics. Peter Hotez says that was coming on January 20th, which I think there's another event that day. I could be wrong. It's interesting that he can predict disease to that level. We're watching what's happening on the food supply. I mean, we now have DNA-based vaccines in our food supply. We see that there's studies coming out showing that the mRNA vaccines do actually rewrite your DNA, all sorts of stuff. So we're hitting everything we can, and we need people's support on the Tom Renz Show and tomrenz.com and getsandgo.com/RenzLaw.
Tom Renz, folks, remember, if you spell Tom Renz backwards, that's Zinner Mott. Remember that. That's Zinner Mott. Just remember that's Tom Renz spelled backwards. Andrew Sorcini, you're at bh-pm.com. People love the website, and typically people call you and they go, hey, what's going on with Bitcoin? So tell us what's going on with Bitcoin and how can people get a hold of you if they want to protect their money, sir?
Well, to me, Bitcoin is not real money. It has not really turned into something yet that can be used as a currency. I do believe that they will come out with something that is a digital currency that would be gold backed. I think US will come out on top of that. I'm hoping Donald Trump and Elon Musk together will roll something out that will help save this country in that regard. But I don't like the idea of seeing it programmable. So I think that the first week into 2025, people should reach out to us and do what we call a portfolio review. This is a great time to look at all your finances and just kind of see what changes need to be made and help set up your year here in the first week of January. If you reach out to us on the website, just fill out the online form there. We're not going to high pressure you into doing anything, but it is a good time to take a look at your finances because you know how busy you get. Next thing you know, it's going to be summertime. The year's going to be half over, and you'll miss the chance to be able to make moves that could actually help set you up for the rest of the year and possibly even the rest of your life.
General Flynn, that's flynnmovie.com, sir. The final 2 minutes we've got here with you today, sir. Whatever's on your mind, whatever's on your heart, I want to give you the floor, sir.
Yeah, I want everybody to pray for Donald Trump's safety. I want everybody to pray for his family's safety and security between now and the inauguration day. The resources that they have are okay. They're adequate, but not necessarily prominent, especially, between now and the time he goes into the White House. Once he goes into the White House, then he has an extraordinary amount of resources. But even then, his safety and his security are always at risk. The President of the United States is always threatened by some psychopath that's out there. I want people to really understand that and to pray for him and his entire family. I do want people to, I kid about this, and I was on a show earlier with another friend of ours today, talking about if we want to make America great again, we got to make America godly again. We don't if we don't retake the moral high ground, America, then we risk losing everything. And that's what this is all about. Is at the end of the day, it's the moral high ground, because we were in a moral tailspin. American people knew it, and they came to the rafters to save the day. The American people saved the day on election day, and gave us a little bit of breathing room to resurrect ourselves, to grab hold of whatever we could grab hold of to get back on that very difficult piece of terrain called the moral high ground, and that's where we need to stay. So Donald Trump's safety, and let's make America godly again.
Thank you, General Flynn. Thank you, Tom Renz. Thank you, Andrew Sorcini. James, thank you for serving honorably as an A member of America's B team, known as the Air Force, the backup plan for the Army. Just seriously, we appreciate you. You guys take care. All right. See ya. Bye-bye. How concerned are you about the collapse of the U.S. dollar, sir?
I'm very concerned. And it's more than just the U.S. There's a thing called the BRICS nations. BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And what happened in 2021, I believe, when we abandoned Afghanistan, on that day, Saudi Arabia shifted allegiances from America, trading in dollars, petrodollars. Saudi Arabia switched sides to China and Russia. It's the end of the dollar system. So the end is near for the US dollar, and my concern is it's going to wipe out stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. Just for my generation, the boomer generation, we're in serious trouble, because the only reason our stocks, bonds, mutual funds are up is because the Fed and the Treasury just kept printing more and more money. Instead of fixing the problem from 2008, they just kept printing more money. And it's about to come to an end. So that's why when I say to people, buy gold, silver, and Bitcoin. You want to stay in what I call real assets, tangible assets. That's my opinion. Most people say buy US Treasuries. That's Harry Dent. I wouldn't trust anything printed by the US government, but that's me. I don't like anything that can be printed.
Now, the BRICS nations, again, to repeat for everybody who's hearing this for the first time, you might hear about the BRICS nations. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, Africa. Those comprise roughly 41% of the Earth's population, and they are teaming up together to unseat the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. And now you have Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Nigeria, Venezuela, Algeria, Turkey, and Argentina all teaming up to unseat the US dollar as the world's US.
You're on it, man. You're on it. You're on it. Everybody, listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about.
Well, let's just give one example, the US dollar, which has kind of united the world in a lot of ways, maybe not to your advantage, but certainly to ours. Is that going away as the reserve currency, the universally accepted currency? How have sanctions, do you think, changed the dollar's place in the world?
To use the dollar as a tool of foreign policy struggle is one of the biggest strategic mistakes made by the US political leadership. The dollar is the cornerstone of the United States power. I think everyone understands very well that no matter how many dollars are printed, they are quickly dispersed all over the world. Inflation in the United States is minimal. It's about 3 or 3.4%, which is, I think, totally acceptable for the US. But they won't stop printing. What does the debt of $33 trillion tell us about? It is about the emission. Nevertheless, it is the main weapon used by the United States to preserve its power across the world. As soon as the political leadership decided to use the US dollar as a tool of political struggle, a blow was dealt to this American power. I would not like to use any strong language, but it is a stupid thing to do and a grave mistake. Look at what is going on in the world. Even the United States allies are now downsizing their dollar reserves. Seeing this, everyone starts looking for ways to protect themselves. But the fact that the United States applies restrictive measures to certain countries, such as placing restrictions on transactions, freezing assets, etc., causes great concern and sends a signal to the whole world. What did we have here? Until 2022, about 80% of Russian foreign trade transactions were made in US dollars and euros. US dollars accounted for approximately 50% of our transactions with third countries, while currently it is down to 13%. It wasn't us who banned the use of the US dollar. We had no such intention. It was decision of the United States to restrict our transactions in US dollars. I think it is complete foolishness from the point of view of the interests of the United States itself and its taxpayers, as it damages the US economy, undermines the power of the United States across the world. By the way, our transactions in yuan accounted for about 3%. Today, 34% of our transactions are made in rubles, and about as much, a little over 34% in yuan. Why did the United States do this? My only guess is self-conceit. They probably thought it would lead to full collapse, but nothing collapsed. Moreover, other countries, including oil producers, are thinking of and already accepting payments for oil in yuan. Do you even realize what is going on or not? Does anyone in the United States realize this? What are you doing? You are cutting yourself off. All experts say this. Ask any intelligent and thinking person in the United States what the dollar means for the US.
But
you're killing it with your own hands.
I think that's I think that's a fair assessment.
I thought Trump's recent comments were interesting, and this is what I want to bring up to you. He was speaking at a Bitcoin conference during this, where he said the U.S. is the big piggy bank, but our piggy bank is going to get smaller and smaller all the time because we're losing power. We're losing a lot of countries on the dollar. I mean, they're going like flies. And if we ever lose that, that's the equivalent of losing a war. That would be unbelievable. The equivalent of losing a war, basically, in reference to if the U.S. were to lose its dollar, its reserve status, if the U.S. dollar were to lose its reserve status.
Right.
Thoughts on the fact that at least he's thinking about it?
Well, that's right. And when he says it's the equivalent of losing a war, I agree with that, but I would go a step further and say it is a war. We're in a war. We are in a financial war right now. But there's a rotating presidency. You host the BRICS summit on a rotating basis.
Yep.
This year, it's Russia. And they're having this summit in October in Kazan in the Russian Federation. And what they're going to do is admit a lot more new members. We have the list of applicants. I don't know exactly which countries are going to join, but Turkey would be high on the list, and some Malaysia, and some other, maybe Saudi Arabia and some other important countries. But the point is, this is the key to making the BRICS currency, whatever they call it, the unit or whatever, a very successful trading currency, and basically for trading, settling, balance of payments, etc., is to expand the membership in the group. So if you have two countries, Russia, let's just take Russia and India, for example, and Russia sells oil to India, which they're doing, and India pays in rupees, Indian rupees. Okay, that works. You don't need to go through SWIFT for that. You can use Russian bank accounts in Mumbai. But what's Russia going to do with the rupees? Well, I think buy a certain amount of chicken curry or whatever. But there's a limit on what you can do with the currency. So in a bilateral relationship where you agree to accept each other's currencies, that can work. It's not that difficult to do. But the problem is, what do you do with the currencies? Who really wants Russian rubles? honestly, who wants Chinese yuan? Who wants Indian rupees? Now, but if you expand the membership, it's no longer 2 countries or 4 countries, but it's 20 countries. And all of a sudden you're Russia and you sell oil to India, but India pays you in the BRICS currency, not Indian rupees, but in the new BRICS currency. But Russia can take the BRICS currency and spend it in China, or buy aircraft from Brazil, buy manufactured goods from China, buy oil from Saudi Arabia. Or, well, they don't need the oil, but other manufactured goods from Turkey, as the case may be. Well, once you expand the membership, now the currency is really useful. So it's not just limited to whatever one country can sell you. It's expanded to what 20 countries can sell you. Guess which monetary union has 20 members?
Right.
The euro. So people who say this can't be done. I'm like, hey, ever heard of the euro? It can be done very successfully. So the key is not, cooking up some formula, a gold standard exchange. Those are important issues. I'm not dismissing them, but I'm saying the real key is expanding the membership. And that's what they're going to do in October.
Good point. I'm so happy you said that, Jim, because obviously as a journalist, I need to remain neutral, and I want to invite people with differing voices. But I'm always scratching my head when I have folks so dismissive of the BRICS. Our experts basically using the analogy, well, it's like a group of family members at a table. How in the world are you ever going to get them to agree to a common currency, whatever that looks like? But that's such a good point. Look at the euro. They got there.
Right. Yeah, they did. And again, there's a lot of technical work behind the scenes, but that work is going on. By the way, the BRICS started, I know it's a marketing gimmick by Goldman Sachs in 2000, but as far as a serious political organization, it really started in 2006. And so they've been around for 18 years. And they have the new development bank in Shanghai. And by the way, who's the president of the new development bank? Dilma Rousseff, who's the former president of Brazil. This thing is very well thought out. They have the contingent reserve arrangement, which is basically their own version of the IMF. So they've duplicated or replicated the Bretton Woods institutions on their own terms, and they're soon going to have their own currency. And it looks like it will have a gold reference. I'm not saying it's a full-blown gold standard, but the value of the unit of currency will be based, I've seen some versions 40% based on weight of gold, not the dollar price of gold on a given day or on a particular day, but weight of gold, which is a different way of thinking about it. So that's coming. And now that doesn't make it a reserve currency. Reserve currency is different than a trading currency, but just the trading currency alone can be very, very successful. And it's not the end of the dollar. It doesn't mean, oh, here's the BRICS currency, that's the end of the dollar. That's not how it works. It's like someone new sits down at the table. It doesn't mean the dollar goes away. It doesn't mean that, but it means that all of a sudden it's competing for its share of world trade and world payments with a new currency that has the backing of, maybe upwards of 20 countries, including countries that collectively are, over 50% of global GDP. You may have to go back to some kind of gold standard, gold linked, gold backed in some fashion, not because you want to. There's no central bank in the world that wants to go to gold, but they may have to restore confidence. Now, if you do, if you say, okay, we have to get back to some kind of gold system to restore confidence, what would the price of gold have to be to make that system work? Well, we have a lot of historical precedent. There was a real gold standard solid gold standard from 1870 to 1914, modified gold standard from after World War I, say 1919 through World War II, the Bretton Woods standard from 1944 to 1971. So we do have precedent for this. In every case, you don't have to have enough gold to back 100% of the money supply. Some of the hard shell gold bugs say you do, but that's not true. Historically, you need between 20 and 40%. So let's just take 40%. Look at the U.S. money supply, and I use M1 because it's broader than Fed-based money. It includes checking accounts. It's kind of like the money from the banks that drives the real economy. So if you take M1 and take 40% of that and say, okay, that's how much gold I need to back it up, and then say, okay, how much gold do I have? The answer is 8,133 tons. That's how much gold the U.S. has. And just do the math. And this is, as I say, this is 7th grade math. You say, what would the price per ounce have to be for 8,000 tons to back up M1? And the answer is $27,000. By the way, I did the same math not that long ago. Well, 7 or 8 years ago. And the answer was closer to $15,000. But the reason it's higher, gold is still gold, but the money supply is a lot bigger. So with the same amount of gold and a larger money supply, you need a higher price per ounce to back up the money supply. And by the way, I spoke to Paul Volcker about this, and he agreed. He said he wasn't advocating for a gold standard, but he said if you had to go back to a gold standard, he just threw his hand in the air and said, oh, the price of gold would be unbelievable. And of course, he's right. So that number, if things kind of remain the way they are and confidence in the dollar remains, we can talk about that, by the way, because there are arrows directed right at the heart of confidence in the dollar having to do with Russian assets in the war in Ukraine.
The Russians backed up what Warren's been saying. A lot of people are going, oh, this currency is not going to be anything. They said it's going to be gold backed. Hello, it's going to be gold backed.
The BRICS group is set to introduce a new currency backed by gold, in contrast to the credit-backed US dollar, with countries lining up to join the growing initiative.
The BRICS countries are planning to introduce a new trading currency which will be backed by gold. More and more countries recently expressed desire to join BRICS.
The nature of money is going to change quite dramatically. The old systems of trust and of ownership will have to adapt radically.
The one final note I will make is that if you think about the benefits of digital money, there are huge potential gains. It's not just about digital forms of physical currency. You can have programmability, units of central bank currency with expiry dates. You could have, as I argue in my book, a potentially better and some people might see it, or a darker world where the government decides that units of central bank money can be used to purchase some things, but not other things that it deems less desirable, like, say, ammunition or drugs or pornography or something of the sort. And that is very powerful in terms of the use of a CBDC, and I think also extremely dangerous for central banks. Because ultimately, if you have different units of central bank money with different characteristics, or if you use central bank money as a conduit for economic policies in a very targeted way, or more broadly for social policies, that could really affect the integrity of central bank money and the integrity and independence of central banks. So there are wonderful notions of things that can be done with digital money, but again, I fear that technology could take us to a better place, but equally has the potential to take us to a pretty dark place.
A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability.
This is Richard Werner, the top academic scholar in the world on central banking. He wrote the book and did the documentary, The Princes of the Yen, about the Japanese central bank. Here he is in Malmo, Sweden, in May.
The nature of this CBDC, what is it actually going to look like? They never talk about that. Right. But I heard one European central banker tell me what it's going to look like. He saw it, and it was around this large and would be implanted under your skin.
CBDC. If that happens, we're done.
They started their CBDC. Maybe we should start having the conversation of, gosh, this looks like the mark of the beast.
COVID makes it accelerates the process of digitalization and automatization. It legitimizes the deployment of mass surveillance, even in democratic countries, and it makes surveillance go under your skin.
Wallet Moore says the $300 chip is the size of a grain of rice. You'd most likely have it implanted in your hand, and once it's activated, you can use it at a checkout by just swiping your hand over the card reader.
I want people to go read Executive Order 14067. Executive Order 14067, signed by Uncle Joe, the 8th of March of 2022, and it went into effect 13 December 2022.
CBDC. If that happens, we're done.
The old systems of trust and of ownership will have to adapt radically.
China's taken over, and China, I heard a couple of people say, well, the dollar will never lose the dollar standard. Are they kidding?
Now the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa have announced plans to develop a new currency.
My name is General Mike Flynn, and I want everyone to know that I stand fully behind Beverly Hills Precious Metals and its owner, Andrew Sorcini.
Since my name is Cash, I'm constantly worried about inflation. But to secure your cash going forward, buy into gold and silver today. And you know who shares that ethos? Beverly Hills Precious Metals. Go to bh-pm.com today so you can go buy gold and silver and secure your family's future. bh-pm.com. Call Beverly Hills Precious Metals, get your consultation, buy into gold and silver, just like I'm doing today, and help secure your family's future. Because it's all about educating yourself. And that's the value, whether you go with Beverly Hills Precious Metals or not. It's a free consultation that gives your family options for financial security going into the future. So that's why you should call Beverly Hills PreciousMetals.com for a free consultation today.
Hey, Peter Navarro here with the Taking Back Trump's America podcast and Substack. Great to have Andrew Sorcini, the CEO and founder of Beverly Hills Precious Metals, who I'm proud to have as a sponsor of this podcast and Substack. And what I thought we'd do today is talk with Andrew about what he does and how he might be able to help you, to kind of give you a comfort level about his enterprise. So I want to welcome Andrew. How you doing today, Andrew?
I'm doing great, sir. Thank you so much for having me.
You actually sell the real deal. You're not giving out certificates or selling stocks and gold shares or anything like that. What do you actually sell, and how do you deliver it to people?
So the way that works is typically people will reach out to us through our website, which we can get into that part a little bit later. But once they submit a consultation request, then we will know at that point that we need to contact them. And we ask them what their goals for owning precious metals are. For some people, there might be someone that just sold a home. Maybe it was an extra home that they had and they just sold it, and they don't want to put a few $100,000 in the bank. They'd rather put it into gold and let it just sit in a safe at their home or office, or even in a depository of our choosing. Once they submit this information, we will call them and explain to them all of the different options. This isn't a high pressure deal. We're never going to tell you that you have to do this today or it's not going to be here tomorrow. Gold and silver have been around for thousands of years. They'll be here later. It's just a matter of will you get the type that you're looking for and how long will it take. But we do send people the physical gold and silver. And that is important. You touch on a great point, because there are certificates out there that people are investing into for gold and silver, and those are oversold many times over. So in other words, it's like a legalized Bernie Madoff, where if everyone sold on the same day, you couldn't be liquid.
Now I am, I mean, it's like if I'm ordering $100,000 of gold to put in my IRA instead of whatever stocks I might hold, that would make me nervous having that around the house. How do people handle that kind of risk?
Okay, so that's how a big bulk of the transactions we do work. I would say about 60% of the people that reach out to us are rolling over an existing 401k or an IRA into one that holds gold and silver, and it is physical gold and silver. But one rule of that type of transaction is that we cannot send it to your home. It's held in a third-party depository in Delaware, and you receive regular statements. So there's actually 3 entities involved. There's a custodian. So first of all, you might have a 401k with Fidelity. Well, Fidelity would then transfer funds to the custodian that we use, and then we're the broker. So then once the funds transfer over, then we use those funds to purchase gold and silver. Then they have to be stored at the depository, and that's a third entity. Together, that's how you're protected, and it's insured at the depository.
And you have like full insurance at the depository no matter how much is there. It's not like the FDIC only insures up to $250,000. There's full insurance. Is that Is that
It is.
what I'm hearing here?
I've never heard anyone ask that, and everyone should be asking that. It's I'm actually going to add that into what I talk about when I discuss retirement accounts, because nowadays for people that might be working with seven figures, you have to spread out over a few different accounts to be covered under FDIC if those funds are really even there. So you're safe with the IRA; it's fully insured.
And if I have to liquidate some or all of my gold, silver, or precious metals, they come back to you?
Yes, the way that works is the bulk of our inventory is stored at the same depository as where the IRA metals are being held at. So it makes the fulfillment and the liquidation process work very fluid. So the way that it would work is, and this happens every week. So someone will call me and say, Andrew, I need $10,000 out of my retirement account. I say, great. I'll go ahead and send you a distribution form, and you fill that out, send it back to me. I'll send you an invoice to sign, and that's a purchase invoice. And as soon as we get the signed documents back and the metals transfer from your depository account into mine, then I wire the funds to the IRA custodian, and then they go and send them to you. It's a very simple process. It can take a week.
Now, one of the things that fascinated me when you and I first had a conversation about this, because of course I carefully vet all my sponsors, you made the observation that people tend to buy silver more than gold, and I was kind of surprised by that. Why? What is, in terms of the amounts of gold versus silver you sell, what's roughly the percentage out of the total, and why is silver sometimes more preferred?
Well, I think 80% of our transactions are silver, but dollar-wise, I think we're selling more gold than silver. But people like silver because it has a better chance to double and triple in price than gold does. And the reason that we would actually have more dollars sold in gold, even though gold is only selling at 20% of the rate that silver is that silver is a lot cheaper. But people all tend to agree that silver can double or triple in the blink of an eye. But gold is the one that's really just solid, always going up, up, up. Silver is volatile. It's actually being manipulated by some of the big banks, like even JP Morgan Chase.
The gold or silver, let's say, that comes, it can either be in bars or coins. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct.
Yeah. And one of the things I'm excited about is that you and I are working together. You're going to do a Make America Great coin that's going to have my picture on it that's going to be available. Can you talk a little bit about that process and when that might be available?
Sure. So we're currently arranging to have that coin produced. There's still a big backlog in coinage being made from the shutdowns of COVID. So there was a huge backlog and a big run on the available gold and silver. So with this, we could still be a couple of months away, but it's going to be a 1 ounce silver coin. It'll be IRA acceptable, which is really important because IRA acceptable meets certain COMEX guidelines, which we're above of what's acceptable for IRAs.
And let me just stop you there quickly, because when you say IRA acceptable, that means your investment retirement account. That's the IRA, and then the COMEX. What is that standard?
What that is, that's the exchange of what some of the commodities trade on. And
I see. Okay.
So the IRA custodians need for the gold and silver to really have a certain level of purity, or they won't accept them. For example, a Krugerrand, a gold Krugerrand only has it's only like 0.987 purity. That cannot be in an IRA, even though that's a world recognized gold coin.
That's fascinating, because the Krugerrand kind of cornered the market on name recognition, but you're saying that's not as pure as it needs to be for your retirement accounts. That's fascinating.
Exactly. Your silver coin will get in, and the Krugerrand is out.
To be clear, if you want to go to your site, let me get it and see if I get this right. Your company's called Beverly Hills Precious Metals. So the website people can go to is bh-pm.com, bh-pm.com. And what you can do there is you can go to the site and sign up for a free consultation. Please, when you do that, and they ask you who referred you, just put in Peter Navarro or Navarro, and Andrew will give you what I call the royal MAGA treatment. He'll take really good care of you. So that's bh-pm.com. The promo code for the consultation is Navarro. And let's finish this up just by maybe simulating the process. As I understand it, people will go in and sign up for a free consultation, no pressure, free consultation. And then what happens to that information down the line? Walk me through that process, please.
Sure. So someone will go on our website and you just put in your first name, last name, email address, phone number, and just a couple sentences about what you're trying to accomplish. And you could start off by saying, I'm a newbie, I've never invested in gold or silver, please contact me. So I'm seeing these submissions come in all day long. I send them to my sales team, and we've got 14 different reps that one of them will call you. They'll ask you what you're trying to accomplish specifically. Some people are trying to invest funds that they plan to use in the near future for other investments. So with those, we will handle those differently than, say, a long-term investment. If you say, this is my retirement, and I don't think I'm going to retire for 20 years, then we will set it up differently for you. But the most information that you can give me, the better we can help.
And if it's a short-term investment, how do you handle it differently? I understand with the IRAs, you go into the depository. What do you do if it's just kind of a shorter term investment where people might need it 3 months, 6 months, or whenever?
Sure. So I had a lady the other day or a while back that said, I want to do 100,000 in silver. And I said, okay, how quickly will you need these funds? She said 6 months at the most, probably a lot sooner. And I said, oh no, don't do the silver. And she said, why? I said, silver has 20% swings. You could end up selling it back to me for 20% more than you bought it for, but likely you will be selling it back for 20% less than what you paid for.
Yeah.
And she said, well, then are you saying silver is not good? I go, no, it's just silver is a long-term hold, 2 to 5 years minimum. She goes, then are you saying I should do gold? And I said, absolutely. She goes, will I make any money on gold? I go, probably not. And she goes, well, then why would that be good in the short term? I told her physical gold and silver is not meant to be something that could generate a profit in the short term. It's more of a way to preserve your wealth. And that's what she wanted. She wanted to get it out of the bank until she could put that with other money to go into a real estate deal. And I insisted she do the gold. And she said she wasn't going to sell it in less than 6 months. And let me tell you, she did sell in less than 6 months. Had she done the silver, she would have lost like 20%, just like I told her she would.
Yeah.
And with the gold, she just broke even. And that's fine.
You know, I'm so glad you made that point. I'm so glad you made that point because it's total transparency. It's gold and silver are a hedge against inflation primarily. They're not these speculative instruments where you're swinging for the fences and expecting to get rich quick. So I'm really glad you pointed that out because I think that's what's the important part. The people that are going to be most interested in this are going to be people who want to preserve their wealth in an inflationary time, and that's exactly what we have. And as an economist, when I'm looking in the crystal ball, it looks like that's going to go on for a very long time. But look, Andrew, I think you've done a great job. I want to thank you for being on the Taking Back Trump's America podcast and Substack. Please, if you're interested in this, go to bh-pm.com. That's Beverly Hills Precious Metals, bh-pm.com. Tell them Peter Navarro sent you. You get your free consultation. And then what happens then is up to you and you alone. Peter Navarro, out.
When people go to bh-pm.com, they can schedule a free consultation. You're talking about going from the intangible into the tangible.
If you can't hold it in your hand, then it's not yours. You don't own it. You can physically hold actual gold and silver. It ships fully insured directly to your home.
Inflation rates are going to continue to rise. Don't wait. Don't keep putting off decisions that you know you must make.